That's fire. That's fire. That right. The hottest part is, let me see. I haven't taken the plastic off yet. That's what it looks like with the plastic. Same thing. I have to take the plastic off. Damn, I gotta see if how's my audio. I don't know how's my audio. How is my audio? Have any features? Let me see. You see that? No, you can't see that. Hmm. Yeah. Wait. Fire. Managed to do it. All praise to the Most High. All right. Let's do. No. Okay, so it's kind of just like Timo. Like like this thing. StreamYard. Mushroom YouTube. That's this. Settings. Hmm. Vizios. On the Vizio side, what they got? They haven't. They deaded this channel, yo? It look like they deaded this channel. It look like they deaded this channel. What was it? Genesis. Genesis Rock. Genesis. Genesis Deacon. Genesis Ministry. What is on now? What is on? 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 What is this thing on? Go to YouTube. Go to YouTube. Home. What you guys got going on? What you guys got going on? Shout out to my boy Gusano. Turn is fire. No need to ask, it's a smooth operator.
All praise to the Most High Creator, He the narrator and the illustrator. Vengeance is He the compensator. John 14:28. No one greater. This real life, no simulator. He hit the button on the detonator, pull the plug on the ventilator, head shattered the glass on the incubator. Original pro generator. He directed paths. He the navigator. He a man of war. He a gladiator, and He sent the Son to be a mediator. Don't break His laws. He a violator. Go against Him, He annihilator. Set the spirit like an activator. Then I stamp on the beat like an alligator. No fabricators, no imitators. Put a false doctrine on the respirator. Sun coming back like a Terminator, like a fire alarm. New evacuators. Yahweh got the shots, He the orchestrator. Yahweh Shai, He the fumigator. Through these living waters, He a hydrator. Book of numbers, no calculator. Here. Yeah. Lusano.
Man, I used to play that every day to get started, get my day started. There was one song I wish I wrote. It'll be that song. Yo, I wish I wrote
Imagine
that song.
being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete
He's on. All right, brother Israel. Who do you believe the servant is in Isaiah 53, brother? Israel. Okay, so it's not Jesus and it's not the prophets. No. Okay. So has Israel done violence? So I would like to just talk about the text in question, right? Where we can see that what we can agree on. You can talk about whatever you want after you answer what he just asked. We can agree on that Isaiah said that the servant Israel bound. Israel. Yeah, did you hear what he asked you first? King, let me just, I want to make sure you're able to adequately represent your thoughts, but I think to save time, yeah, but real quick though, King, I think let's just establish a quick baseline. I don't deny that the nation of Israel is called the servant of God throughout the book of Isaiah. But you would also agree that there are individuals throughout the book of Isaiah, Isaiah himself being one of them, who's called God's servant, right? Yeah, I got you. Okay, so if we both agree that contextually throughout the book of Isaiah, depending on context, the servant can be either referring to an individual, an example being Isaiah or Cyrus, or the nation of Israel itself. I'm asking you, in Isaiah 53, if you're positing that servant is the nation of Israel, has Israel done violence? Of course they have. Okay. The issue with your understanding then, in verse 9 it says, and he, this servant, made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death because he had done no violence. Right. Okay, right. So what I'm trying to get at is that we can both go to those type of tactics and, and have, somebody in a problematic situation. Just like if I ask you in verse 10, where is the seed that Jesus is supposed to have, right? So again, right, the question is that from, I don't know, maybe Isaiah 41, I think Isaiah repeatedly tells us who the servant is up until, maybe chapter 49. But let's say when we get to chapter 52, right? You would agree that chapter 52 is a continuation chapter 53 is a direct continuation from chapter 52, right? I have to look at it, but you're really getting to my question, King. I'm asking you a direct question. I know you did, but I'm saying before we get there, I'm saying why not start where it all begins? This doesn't start way down there where you'd like to begin, and I understand why. If you said you have to look at it, then that doesn't make sense to me, because why wouldn't you understand what's going on?
Okay, you're asking me if Isaiah 53 is a direct continuation of Isaiah 52. When throughout the book of Isaiah, different chapters go into different things. And he can be talking about Sennacherib and him invading Israel in chapter 17 or something, and then in the very next chapter going something completely different. So just because numerically 53 follows 52 doesn't mean that what's written in chapter 53 is emphatically continuing from what 52 says.
I definitely agree with you.
And that's not
my premise, though. But what I'm saying, though, is that 53 is a question, right? 53 and 1 is a question, right?
If we said 53 and 1 is a question?
Right.
Yes, it is. But,
okay, so.
But I asked you a question. Okay? I understand.
That's what I'm saying. If we start at the beginning, why would we go to the middle of this to get to the answer? Right? Because we have to establish what's going on in the beginning of the chapter to get to the middle to see what we go. Well, you asking me questions about. Seems to me you don't know who's asking these questions at the beginning of the chapter.
That's what.
Do you even know who's asking this question?
Yeah, yes, I do. But these are things you're saying. It seems to you. Okay. Well, it seems to me that you have an issue with answering direct questions.
No, I don't.
So if you don't,
I think it's logical to start at the beginning
I
of the
understand,
chapter.
and I don't have an issue with reading verse 1 on down. I really don't. But I think it's unfair to act as if I'm completely reading this out of context when I literally asked you after you. Okay, cool. You stated your premise, which is you believe the suffering servant in Isaiah 53 is the nation of Israel. If that's the case, I need you to reconcile your position with what verse 9 says when in your own admission you admit that Israel has done no violence. Sorry, Israel has done violence, yet this servant in Isaiah 53 who you say is Israel has done violence.
This is, I got you. And that's fair.
I need you to directly
That's a fair point.
not roundabout, directly answer.
I'm not roundabout anything. I'm asking you, why is it that we wouldn't start at the beginning of this chapter to establish who is doing the talking in these verses? You don't think that's important?
Okay, how about this? I'll extend this olive branch. You establish who is talking in the beginning of the chapter, and then go to verse 9 and reconcile your understanding with what's written there.
So what I'm saying is that...
No. Can you do that, though? Because that's what you're raising.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, go ahead.
So when you look at the endings part of chapter 52, you see that there's a conversation going on that involves the nations, right? And in that, I think it's verse 10 maybe where it says that the arm of the Lord would be revealed to the nations, right? It says that. So when we get to chapter 53, and we're talking about who the arm, to whom will the Lord or arm of the Lord be revealed, we've already established that this is the nations that are speaking. So with that understanding, you now know that no, Israel didn't have any deceit, although they were sinful. They didn't have any deceit when it came to the nations, right? Nor did they do any violence to the nations, right? That's why when you read, and I'm lacking a recall for where the scripture is, but where it says that, well, let me scratch that. But this is where we see how Israel is going to be a light to the Gentiles. That's what we're looking at here in Isaiah chapter 53, right? So these are building up to what is to happen in the end times when the nations are going to be subservient to Israel, right? I don't know where we're getting Jesus out of this, right? Because right. So you singled out the fact, maybe, and I'm assuming this, I could be wrong, but a lot of people are taking this stance based on a few major things from their side, and that's one, that this is singular type verbiage, which is a false reasoning, because we know that earlier in these same Isaiah writings, I think it may be chapter 43 or 42, where it says, "You are my witnesses and my servants." So it says, "You are my witnesses," plural. Then it says, "and my servants," singular, right? So when we get to 53, Isaiah expects us to have a full understanding of who the servant is.
Right, but you just conceded earlier that one servant contextually in the book of Isaiah can refer to a individual. For example, Isaiah himself. Yes.
Yeah, but okay, I do.
Right.
Go ahead.
So if you acknowledge that servant in the book of Isaiah, it can, and I already, granted.
Well, David was called a servant as well. So I would have to.
Exactly.
That was never an argument. That was never an argument.
But you're turning it into an argument because you are, because you're trying to use it as a talking point. You're trying to say that when it says servant, well, you're trying to make this an individual when that doesn't make any sense, because earlier we see Israel being called the servant. But according to your own admission, David, I think it's Isaiah 37, is called God's servant, and Isaiah himself is called God's servant. So there are times contextually in the book of Isaiah where servant does mean an individual. You're now projecting and force-fitting your understanding of servants on Isaiah 53. And you are, which is why you're having an issue with reading Isaiah 53 and doing a bunch of eisegesis.
No,
Because
I'm not really.
you
So,
hold on,
so
I'll
check
let you
this out.
speak. 1 second. So
Right.
in verse 9, he, the same servant, made his grave with the wicked. So you're positing the nation of Israel died with the wicked?
No, that's not what I'm saying. And
Okay, so
again,
who's the he?
these are poetic type writings, right? They're not really like literal writings. It's like poetry. So when we see these things, we still have to keep that in mind. But I'm noticing that you're dodging what I was saying earlier about this being about the nations that are speaking, right? And you keep running back to a
I'm not
point
dodging
that
anything.
you cannot prove about singular language, right? You want this to be singular, but Isaiah has already established who the servant is. So
Well,
you can't bring up. Hold up, you can't.
Right. Why do you keep doing that, though, brother?
But you because you try to bring up David, which I brought up, but you also brought up Isaiah and use those for examples. But the problem with that is that Isaiah is not talking about none of that. He has a theme.
You're asserting that, though. That's an assertion.
No, I'm saying that you use that as a talking point to
Does
say
it say that Israel's the servant in Isaiah 53? Yes or no?
You said what now?
Does it say in Isaiah chapter 53 that we're reading that Israel's the servant? Yes or no?
No, it doesn't.
Right. So you're asserting that. That's an assertion.
No, I'm not. This is why I'm not. And this is why I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. Because if you're reading the text in English, yeah, that makes sense. But in Hebrew, right, you won't notice a name change unless you have a narrative change.
What?
So when I'm telling you, so when you see a servant that was spoke of earlier in a text, right, unless you explicitly see something different that was changed, then you assume the same servant that's moving forward. It doesn't change. Like, where would you get a new servant from?
It's okay. Thank you. You asked the question. Because we see this servant juxtaposed from the nation of Israel. We see that in verse 12. Therefore will I divide him. Contextually, it's the same him, he that was spoken of throughout the whole chapter with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many. So this is the verse I'm looking for. It's verse 8. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living for the transgression of my people. Was he?
Who are God's people?
Yes.
Well, God's people is Israel.
Okay, beautiful. And
but
so
that's not. But where does it say that says God's people?
Okay, it says, for the transgression of my people was he
stricken. Okay, who's the my? Who's the my there? Who's my?
Whether or not you want to say that's Isaiah or God, both cases it's still Israel.
I want to say who it really is. No, it's not Isaiah or God.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Okay, cool. So who is it?
It's the nations. That's why it's important to read the previous chapter.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me make sure I'm trying to understand. So when you're saying he was cut off out of the land of the living for the transgression of my people,
right?
Who's my right there?
The nations.
The Gentiles?
This game, you're not ready for it.
Gentiles?
Yes.
Okay. So Israel was taken from prison and from judgment. And who shall declare Israel's generation? For Israel was cut off out of the land of the living, for the transgression of Israel's people was Israel stricken. And apparently, and Israel's people is not the people of Israel, it's the Gentiles.
No, you're adding all of these different names.
No, I'm taking your position and inserting in the text, and you see how you immediately disagree with it because it sounds loony.
No, you're not, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like you're taking it and you're desperately reaching to try to make your point.
Okay, let me read it one more time.
Go ahead.
Okay. It says, for the transgression of my people was he stricken. Who's speaking in verse 8?
The nations.
Okay, so the Gentiles, wait a minute. So the Gentiles are saying Israel was taken from prison and from judgment. And who shall declare his generation? For he, Israel, was cut off out of the land of the living. So Israel, the nation of Israel died for the nation of Israel died for the Gentiles.
The word there the word that's there can mean somebody died, but it doesn't have to mean somebody died, right? So I don't understand that this is talking about somebody died here.
Okay, so Israel was metaphorically or was struck down.
No, they was cut off. Cut off from the land of the living, like that type of verbiage, right? Because they was removed from the land of Israel, right? That's why in the end, is Israel prophesied to be a nation of priests?
Yes.
Okay, and that's to the Gentiles, right?
Yep.
So, do you see in the scriptures of Isaiah? I mean, because I'm just trying to see where we do agree.
Yes.
So, do you see in Isaiah where it says that the Gentiles will realize that Israel is the true people of the Most High and start there immediately realizing the conundrum that they're in, so to say.
I mean, I guess. Let me just, because I answered 3 of your questions.
Israel bound. I'm just trying to see if we agree on all this stuff.
Israel bound. Let me just make sure I'm walking with you. You're saying the servant is Israel, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in Isaiah 49:3, it says, "And it said unto me, Thou art my servant, O Israel." Okay, so let me just be transparent with you. We do believe in the Ezekiel 40s and 50s, it's interchangeably used, the servant, as a singular person and then all of Israel. You disagree with that though, right?
Hold on, let me wrap my mind around what you said. You said in the latter part of Ezekiel.
Isaiah, excuse me. Isaiah. Yeah, in the 40th chapters and the 50th chapters, when it's dealing with the servant, we do agree that Israel as a whole is the servant. But then within those chapters, there is a singular person who is said to be the servant. You don't agree with that, though.
In which example though? Because I know Hassan gave example of singular